Brother Don Wildman responded to the call of the Lord and started a Christian organization based on biblical principles. Our core values are evangelism and discipleship, marriage and family, morality, the sanctity of human life, stewardship, and religious liberty. Since our founding, American Family Association has promoted these principles in a dark and dying world. This ministry, supported by like-minded believers, is upholding the Word of God despite overwhelming worldly opposition.
So, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to keep on fighting.
Thank you for being a part of the American Family Association and promoting the eternal truth of God.
All God asks of you is faithfulness.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Monday, February the 5th, 2024. Thanks for listening to AFR. I'm Tim Wildman with Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Good morning, Tim.
All right, Ed, you want to tell folks how they can engage with us, watch this year's show, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we do have a live video stream for this program and a number of talk programs on American Family Radio. If you want to watch this one, you can do that. There's three ways for you to do it. You can go to Facebook or YouTube and search for Today's Issues. On Facebook, on YouTube, you have to search for Today's Issues Live. Or you can go to our own streaming service at streaming.afa.net, streaming.afa.net, and you can watch the live video stream.
All right, so we have a food truck outside our offices here this morning.
Yes.
And they're offering coffees, all kinds of things.
Pastries. I got a bagel, no cream cheese, and a sugar-free white chocolate, hot chocolate.
Is that supposed to offset the loaded bagel? With the,
well, it wasn't loaded. I didn't even have cream cheese on it. It was blueberry, so
that makes a difference.
I'm not gonna be self-righteous about it. That was pretty tasty. So and the hot chocolate, even though it was sugar-free, was outstanding.
Well, they brought me a caramel latte and a plain latte, and at this point, just for the Super Bowl of lattes, the caramel latte's ahead. But it's only
so you're drinking one of each.
It's only the first quarter, yeah. I've got two.
And locally, I think it's Maze, right? M-A-E.
The company?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a food truck, but it's got more than food. It's got drinks.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Very
and the
good.
coffee is excellent.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's got drinks, but don't be worried, folks. There's no margaritas this afternoon here at American Family Association.
Or this morning.
Or this morning, either one. No, non-alcohol.
That's right. Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcohol. All right. Again, thanks for joining us on American Family Radio. A lot to cover, a lot of big stories happening. Fred, what's number one?
Number one on the list, and folks, you're going to be hearing a lot about this week, is this so-called $118 billion border deal, Ukraine money, Israel money package that what they like to stress, a bipartisan committee in the Senate has come up with. Now, what's being talked about mostly is the policies under this bill with regards to the border. Now, one of the Republican senators who has been part of they've been working for 4 months to come up with this bill. What the Biden administration basically did was tied new money for Ukraine, for Israel, in with billions of dollars for the border. Under the guise, the Democrats have been saying, it will enhance our border security. A lot of people skeptical about that because they say they're just going to use the money for doing paperwork down there. Anyway, Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, a Republican, sat on this bipartisan committee. He obviously, because he sat on the committee, is a cheerleader for what they've come up with. He was interviewed extensively this morning. The wording of the bill itself was just released last night, so a lot of people haven't had a chance to read the thing. It's over 300 pages. So here's a little bit about what Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, again, part of this committee, who believes in this bill, is trying to sell it there this morning. Cut number one.
It literally flips the script on it. I have people saying, well, I don't want to do that at 5,000. I want to do that at 3,000. Say, well, fine, we can do 3,000. But right now, every day we're at 5,000. It doesn't matter between the two. We've got to be able to have something that mandatorily deports everyone rather than actually releases everyone. That's what this does. Some people are thinking that this is somehow like counting 5,000 people in every day and releasing them. That's absurd. We changed the asylum laws. We increased detention beds. We double the deportation flights. We add ankle monitors for people that are actually coming through, that do these family groups that come through, so we can track any individual that when we don't have capacity.
Right.
There's all the things that we build into this to make this a much stronger system. Gaps that are in the law get closed in this structure.
I compare this bill up to now in the Biden administration. We have had like a fire hydrant that's full open. You had 10, 15,000 people a day coming across the border. Everybody's heard these stories. What Lankford and others who designed this bill say, this is going to cut it back. They're only going to, they say, allow 5,000 to approach the border every day for a 5-day running period.
That's the average.
That's the average. Now, you heard him say, but they're going to ask one thing, tougher questions. Well, right now, the way it's been is somebody comes up the border, just says one word, asylum. They do some paperwork, and they're in the country for the Lord only knows how long, years, before there's a deportation hearing. What Lankford is claiming is that they're now going to start to ask tougher questions. Now, he was asked about, well, what kind of questions are you going to ask these people? Well, they're going to have to tell us a bit about why you felt oppressed in your home country. Well, if you've made the trek to our southern border, you're probably going to say, yes, I feel very much oppressed. The government is really mean in my home country. I guess that's good enough to get you in. If you claim to be a mom with 2 or 3 kids, you're going to be allowed in still automatically, going to give you ankle bracelets, is what they say. Anyway, the bottom line is the initial response.
But this hasn't been passed.
Oh, no.
This is only... Has it been passed in the Senate?
It has not.
Okay, so it's in the Senate. This is a proposed law.
It is.
That hasn't even made it over to the House yet.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
But House Speaker Johnson has read enough of it to say right off the bat, this is a non-starter. Another description being used of this bill, it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's the response. I don't think this thing has a chance. House Speaker Johnson saying this is a non-starter. He says it's not even going to get a vote in the House the way it's displayed right now.
Why is James Lankford in support of this bill? Listen, this is, first of all, did you have some other sound or anything?
I want to let you hear a little bit of what Mike Johnson has to say. Okay. He was interviewed on NBC over the weekend. Cut number 2.
We are willing to work with the Senate. I am not disclosing that, and I've been very consistent for the 100 days that I've had the gavel. We're willing to work, but they have to be serious about it. If you only do a few of those components, you are not going to solve the problem. And Kristen, that's not a Republican talking point. That's what the sheriffs at the border, the Border Patrol agents, the deputy chief of U.S. Border Patrol, a 33-year veteran of the agency, told us. He said it's as though we're administering an open fire hydrant. He said, I don't need more buckets like the president's proposed. I need to stop the flow, and we know how to do that, but Joe Biden is unwilling to do it.
Here's my take on anything coming out of the Democratic Party, okay? First of all, we've said this ad nauseum. Joe Biden started this, invited the surge. These 8 to 10 million illegals that are now in the country are because Joe Biden wanted them to come in. So first off, and by the way, Joe Biden could stop it.
Yes.
He doesn't need a bill being passed in the Senate and the House. There's nothing to sign. He has plenty of constitutional authority right now to stop this if he wants. Part of the problem is, anything coming out of the Democratic Party, I don't buy it. There's a trick involved. It's an outright lie. It's deception. I think they're putting this forward as a way to get money for Ukraine. because Republicans have kind of tried to hold the line on this. So as soon as they get the money to go wherever they want around the world, then Joe Biden will say, oh, there's an emergency. I'm going to have to nullify this bill. So the part of the problem is going to be it's not just a fire hydrant open into the United States. It's the pipes leading to the fire hydrant that's coming from Mexico, Central, and South America, and around the world.
150 countries.
So you got all these people streaming for the border. Are you telling me the Biden administration is just going to allow 5,000 in a day? No. You're not going to have tens of thousands and millions of people sitting across the Rio Grande in Mexico. There are lies upon lies upon lies being fed to the American people. Lankford and the other Republicans ought to play it smart and deep six this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like to me, Senator Lankford from Oklahoma, the Republican, is putting his whole political life on the line here. I don't know. He was censured by the Oklahoma Republican Party last week. That was an open rebuke of him, their own Republican senator. And I didn't hear the whole interview that he did on Fox News this morning. I just heard what everybody else heard with the clip we played here this morning. But he is defending this proposed legislation, which, again, hasn't been passed in the Senate and will be. And then Speaker Johnson in the House said it's dead on arrival. That's a direct quote. He's seen enough of it. It's worse than he thought. That's another direct quote from Speaker Johnson in the House. And remember, the Republicans only have like a one or two seat margin in the House. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's he doesn't have a big majority to work with. That is the Speaker, but he's also confident, I guess, that this is going nowhere as it's written. This proposed legislation. Listen, I'm with you, Ed, and I think. Listen, I read some of the items that were listed in this legislation that it would include, and I thought, well, that's good. That would be good. That would be good. That would be good. That would be good. Those things that were proposed. So there's some things I think everybody would say, yeah, we need, more of that. However, the bottom line is we don't need any new legislation. We don't. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, created this catastrophe. He did it basically despite Trump and Republicans. When he entered when he was sworn in, Joe Biden reversed everything that Trump had done because it was done at what do you call it? Executive order? Is that what you call it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Where the president issues an executive order.
Right.
There was not legislation. Trump did a lot of things by executive order because he couldn't get it done legislatively. No fault of his own necessarily. I'm just saying that but he did what he could to secure the border with executive orders. Well, they were reversed, and this is all Biden and the Democrats' fault. And now they're trying to act like, well, we're going to pass legislation that solves this problem, this catastrophe, reverses it that we created. I personally think it's now this is the Ukraine funding notwithstanding. Or withstanding, I don't know what the right word is. Put that out there separately, which I do want to talk about. This is to try to save Joe Biden's hide, and a lot of the Democrats, maybe from swing states that are in district where they could lose on this issue alone, this massive illegal immigration that the Democrats have allowed into our country, and Biden leading the way. This is to give them cover going into the fall. And maybe this is too strong a word, my initial reaction to seeing this is same as Speaker Johnson's. This is phony. This is phony baloney. Mm-hmm. Don't fall for it and stop it. I would say if I were the Republicans, I would say we don't need any new legislation. Biden needs to close down the border. If he can do it with this, quote, new legislation, he can do it now. All he has to do is reverse himself.
That's right.
Okay? The executive orders that Trump had in place, that remain in Mexico, for example,
Right.
Yes.
that Biden overturned, the Democrats can show, well, we'll start with that. We'll put those back in place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Biden could do that. He could do that this afternoon.
Right.
So, to me, this is, there's some good things in it, as I mentioned earlier. We could go down item by item. But overall, no. Republicans don't need to save Biden and the Democrats' hide with this phony baloney at this juncture. They've created this mess. If you can put a number of 5,000, is it 5,000? Langford said it's not 5,000 a day. It's 5,000. What is it? An average?
It's an average over whatever it is, a 7-day period.
5 days, yeah.
Five days.
That's nuts. To say that's like saying, all right, we got like entering Disney World or something. We got 5,000 free passes. After that, everybody's going to have to pay. I mean, no. You say we're stopping illegal immigration into our country. And you know what? The tolerance level is? Zero. Mm-hmm. And I know some people would say, well, that's unreasonable. Well, no, it's not. If you can put it at 5,000, you can put it at zero.
Well, and the ridiculousness of this approach is that if you had one entry point, you use the example of Disney, okay, where you go through the turnstile.
Right.
Okay, and you can keep track of every
Right.
person that enters the country. They're all being funneled to one entry point,
Right.
and the turnstile clicks, and you reach 5,000.
Right.
You say, "That's it, folks. That's all for today."
Right.
Okay. Well, we've got people streaming across the border. Nobody knows who they are or where they are or where they're coming. So how are you
going to count them?
How do you count them? And I'll tell you something else that's going to happen. And you can just take this to the bank. If the Republicans hold fast and say, no, we're not passing this, Joe Biden is going to turn around and you'll hear the media talking points.
Right.
I tried to solve the problem,
Yes.
but the Republicans would not pass this necessary.
But they've been saying that already. Remember Karine Jean-Pierre?
Oh, yeah.
The
Right.
spokesperson for Biden at the White House?
Mm-hmm.
She's been about every other day since he took office and the border's been coming up. She says, well, the Republicans won't
pass anything.
Yeah, the president has put forth a comprehensive immigration bill, and the Republicans won't do anything. So his hands are tied; he can't do anything.
Yep.
That's why I say it's lies upon lies
Right.
upon lies.
It's a Democrat trap, and the Republicans are falling into it.
Right. Well, not yet. Speaker Johnson said no.
Yeah. But
But you have James Langford saying yes.
Yes.
All the Republicans should be saying, folks, this is smoke and mirrors. We are not going to entertain legislation. We are calling on the Biden administration right now to stop it. That's all they should say. They
And
should
you
go on
suspend.
talk
You know what you
shows.
do? They talked in here in this bill about suspending asylum, which was, if I remember reading it correctly, suspending the asylum claim for I don't know how long. But I said, yeah, you need to do that today.
Yeah.
You need to, if you can do it with this bill, you can do it today.
Mm-hmm.
You suspend the asylum claim, or you pass a law that I don't know, but you cannot let people come to the border, claim asylum. It's abuse, and then go into the interior of the U.S. never to be heard from again. They're not coming back for a hearing.
But that's why what Trump had in place was working. He
Yes,
said, okay, you
yes.
want to come and claim asylum? Okay, that's fine. You wait in Mexico until you're hearing.
Yeah.
What the Biden administration has said, until you're hearing about asylum, you're free to go wherever you want in the United States.
Yeah. And what they do, those people go somewhere, they settle down, whatever. They're not coming back. Do you think they're going to say in 5 years from now or 3 years from now, whenever, all right, time to load up the van, everybody. Let's go back to El Paso for our hearing.
Right.
You know.
And we might get denied and sent back.
Plus, it's obvious that the asylum laws are being abused because you're supposed to claim asylum in the first country you get to when you leave the one that you're supposed to be living under terror,
Yep.
or violence or ethnic cleansing. It's meant for people who are victims of
Like political oppression.
yeah, like people used to escape from the Soviet Union,
Right.
right? So that's what it's meant for.
I saw
People are what is now people coming from around the world going, I plead asylum,
Yeah.
and they're given a piece of paper and said, see you later.
there's a location in Southern California where they don't even have to do that. There's been video this weekend and again this morning. There's a 4-foot hole in a fence near San Diego. The video shows them just streaming in there. They have their cell phones out because TikTok is providing them with a map. Where do you go on this fence to get in? And they're flowing across. And most of the people that I saw in the video, they looked of Asian descent, probably from China. Just pouring, and there's nobody there.
Well, some of them are coming in on boats. Have you seen these boats landing on the beaches in California?
Yes. Yeah, we've had an invasion.
Yeah,
for 3 years.
And now during the political year, Biden and the Democrats are trying to broker something that's not going to solve the issue, the fundamental issue, and then they're going to claim victory. And that's what and also I read where Biden or whoever the president is could suspend this law for like 90 days
under quote unquote an emergency.
Yeah. Well, you don't think he'll say that day one? So
define emergency.
Anyway, Speaker Johnson, good for him, says it's dead on arrival, and the Republicans don't need to help the Democrats get out of their mess, because now you're right, Ed. They will say, the Democrats will say, and Biden will say, "Well, see, we tried, but Republicans wouldn't work with us." Well, I would rather deal with that than pass something that's, as I said, phony baloney.
Right. Yeah.
In dealing with this issue. Now, what is the Ukraine element here? Ukraine funding element.
Well, this is all we've been saying all along, that these kinds of bills ought to be separate. So everyone should vote up or down whether to send money to Israel. We're going to send aid to Israel. Yes or no? We're going to send aid to Ukraine. Yes or no? We're going to fund a border proposal. Yes or no? But what the Democrats have done is they have put all those together so that I'm guessing that if you vote against the border proposal, you're voting against aid for Ukraine.
That's right.
You're voting against aid for Israel.
That's right.
When the reality is, no, we want these things to be voted on separately, but it's an aid package that would go to Ukraine to continue the money that has gone to Ukraine as they defend themselves against Russia.
And
which
that's
is now almost 2 years. That war's almost 2 years old.
And Johnson has actually proposed a separate standalone bill for Israel. He says we're going to vote on that.
Who is this?
Johnson.
Oh, good.
House Speaker Johnson.
That's the way it should be.
Sure, it should be.
Yeah. Those are three separate issues.
Yes.
They shouldn't be thrown in the same pot.
Yeah.
Those are three separate issues. Fund Ukraine, and how hard is that? Well, you call for a vote on funding for Ukraine at 10 o'clock. You call for a vote on funding to aid Israel at 2 o'clock. I mean, this just some games being played here.
Yeah.
And I'm like you guys. I don't like it when they do these omnibus bills where everything in the world's thrown in there, the good and the bad, and you got to vote yes or no, or do you shut down the government? That's not that we've been dealing with that, and that's the continuing resolutions. Anyway, the system has been broken. I'm talking about the system, and I think you bring some accountability back to the system by doing as we've suggested here. You bring these bills up one at a time.
Right.
Separate. You don't throw them all in a big kitty and say yes or no. But quite frankly, in the past, I got to tell you, even some Republicans like that too.
Well, they like it because they can bring home the pork, bring home the bacon to their home district.
And then they could say, well, if I didn't vote for this, the military wouldn't have got their Monday. And so this is how this has been played out. The system is broken. It needs correction. We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
You probably never heard of Johnny Ring, at least not of the Johnny Ring which I'm speaking of, for Johnny isn't very famous. He did very little which our world considers worthy of fame. Nevertheless, the story of Johnny Ring needs to be passed on. Johnny lived during the war between the states. When a company of soldiers was being organized in the area in which Johnny lived, Johnny asked to be a part of it. However, the captain who was organizing the company had other thoughts. In his thinking, Johnny was too young and too little. The captain refused to take the boy into his group. But Johnny was persistent. If he couldn't be a soldier, he could be a soldier's helper. He asked to go along as the servant of the captain. Following some discussion, the captain agreed to take the boy along as his servant. He liked the boy's desire. "You will be a better soldier if I can help you take care of some of your things," Johnny said. Well, Johnny was a good servant. He kept the captain's boots polished, his tent neat, and his sword shining. But while Johnny was a good servant, he had his differences with his captain. Johnny had promised his mother before she died that he would read the Bible every night. Now, this didn't sit well with the captain, for he was an avowed atheist. Johnny would read his Bible in the captain's tent each night before he went to bed. One night, the captain ordered Johnny never to read the Bible in his tent again. Johnny continued to read, often reading while the captain was not in the tent. The troops under the command of the captain were surprised by the enemy one day and forced to retreat across a bridge. The Confederate forces set the bridge on fire. Suddenly, in the midst of battle, Johnny Ring was seen running across the burning bridge. Soldiers on both sides held their fire. Very shortly, the bridge engulfed in flames. They watched as Johnny Ring ran back across, carrying the prized sword of his captain in his hands. As Johnny reached the side where the captain was, he fell to the ground with clothes on fire. Some of the soldiers managed to get the fire out, but it wasn't long before Johnny Ring was dead. After Johnny was buried, the captain began to think seriously about Johnny Ring and his Christian faith. Maybe the faith that Johnny had would help him be like Johnny. And it wasn't too long until the captain embraced the faith of Johnny and claimed the carpenter of Galilee as his master. Nearly 15 years later, he became a Baptist minister. During his ministry, he founded Temple University, the Temple University Medical Center, and all told raised $11 million for Christian causes. More than once, when questioned about his long hours of work, he would say, "I have to live two lives, mine and Johnny Ring's. Johnny died for me." Like we said, you probably never heard of Johnny Ring. Maybe you have heard of Johnny's captain. His name was Russell Conwell, and he was the founder of Temple University.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. 1 Peter 1:3.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Fred, thank you for listening to AFR. If you want to send us an email, the address is comments@afr.net. Comments@afr.net. We spent most of the last half hour talking about the proposed proposed legislation in the U.S. Senate dealing with illegal immigration, what to do about how to stop it. how to control it, and we are in agreement with Speaker Mike Johnson that this does not need to be passed, and he said it's dead on arrival. Even though, as I've said, having read a lot of the parts of the bill in the Senate, and some of it, a lot of it is something everybody could agree on, but it's got a poison pill in there, maybe more than one. The poison pill is allowing people to continue to come here illegally and claim asylum and get free passes, but come into our country by the thousands and thousands. It doesn't stop that. Am I right? Is that inaccurate?
That's correct.
By its own wording, right?
Yep.
I was reading one comment here from Fox News on their website. This is a person who's evidently, I don't know if they're a Democrat or Republican, but they say, turns out this bill has as many of the provisions that Republicans have demanded for decades and is a better deal than that even the Gang of Eight bill from 15 years ago. And this person says, I'd take it. End of quote. Well, I wouldn't.
Right.
I can't agree with that. And as I said, and I'm sure Senator Langford in his interview with Fox News, I didn't hear all of it, probably pointed out some of the stronger points of the legislation. But as I said, to me, it's got a poison pill in there. All right. Do you want to say anything else about this?
I was just going to say that this bill actually originated, I believe, in the House, where House Republicans passed it without any Democratic Party support. It put forth money to build 900 miles worth of border fence. Okay. It goes over to the Senate, and the Senate has not just tinkered with it, but basically created something entirely new. So the last point I'll make, and then we can move on, but is if the Democrats really wanted to do something about stopping the flow, they'd build the fence.
Right.
Okay. But they didn't want to do that. So they are figuring out a way to not stop the flow, but
act like they are.
Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, that's why I called it phony. If you want to quote me on that, it's fine. It's called, expression is phony baloney.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come up with that, but I'm using it right now. I think Biden's word is malarkey.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right.
What he's saying.
You're listening to today's issues. So Biden ran away with the Democrat primary in South Carolina. That's breaking news, too, isn't it?
Kind of easy to do when your only competition are two unknowns. So is there any reason, in that Democrat primary in South Carolina on Saturday, he got 96% of the vote. And they were crowing about that. What a great victory for the president. It was all by design.
But wasn't there like 4% of Democrats voted? And, of course, everybody knew who was going to win that.
Yes.
I will say this, Marianne Williamson, who opposed the president, she did win the New Age vote.
She did.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
New Agers
in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
A hotbed of New Age.
Yeah. Everybody's got their crystal over there.
That's right. That's right.
Meditating.
Hey,
right?
by the way, and I know this is not what we were planning on talking about, but I will say this. This kind of backfires a little bit on the Democrats if President Joe Biden just starts sailing through all these primaries, winning 96, 97%, and then the Democratic Party is cheering that on and bragging about it. They're going to wind up being stuck with Joe Biden.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm not sure they are thinking this through. If their intent is to replace him with somebody else, they could still do that at the convention or otherwise. But it does look worse if they're trumpeting the fact that I didn't intend to use the word Trump. But if they are broadcasting and cheering on the fact that Joe Biden is just slam dunking every primary.
Yes.
What would be your yes, I'm about to rabbit trail. I see the sign.
Yes.
The sign says enter rabbit trail here. And I'm going to go on down that road for just a minute.
Yeah.
What are the we're not betting men here, as far as I know. I don't bet.
Not.
I don't bet. But
I have, let me just say, I have religious reasons against betting, and I'm bad at it. So you take that for whatever you think.
It works out well.
It works out well. So, all right.
But my point is, my question is, what percentage would you put on Biden and Trump being the nominees both in November for the presidential? Because that's what it looks like now. But do you think that'll? We're in, what are we in, February, early February?
We're in early February. Well, let me start by saying I think President Biden getting the Democratic Party nomination is 50-50. President Biden winning the November election and then serving out another term is, I'd say, 10%. So however they do it, Joe Biden is not, I wouldn't even think he'd get through his first year if he was elected. They'll replace him. He'll have medical issues. I'm not sure whether the Democrats think they can ride that Biden horse all the way to November. I tend to think, a flip of the coin here again, 50-50, that he probably will not be on the ballot going against whoever the Republican is. It looks like it's going to be Donald Trump. So I think Donald Trump will get the Republican nomination. I'm not sure it's going to be Trump v. Biden. I think that's 50-50.
Fred?
Yeah, I would go along with what Ed is saying. I think it'll be a Trump-Biden contest in November.
Oh, you think Biden will be the nominee and will be on the ticket?
Yes, I think it's going to be pretty tough if he racks up these numbers in these primaries and then they pull the plug on him against his will.
Yeah, that looks bad.
Yeah.
Be careful using pull the plug on somebody post 80 years old, Ed. I mean, Fred. That may change metaphors.
Well, they do
there.
that kind of thing in Canada now. They do have that.
Yes.
You want to rephrase that?
Well, Trump got some good news on Friday, late Friday. The judge in the Washington, D.C. case said, this March trial isn't going to work. And so that shoves that case. This is the January 6th case. That shoves that case way down the road, which is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. There may never be a trial even before the election. And that was one of the big cases. So he got some really good news. It was kind of downplayed on Friday.
Well, what's happening there is the judge in the January 6th case is waiting on her superiors, the federal appellate court in D.C., to rule on Trump's claims of presidential immunity.
Correct.
So thus the trial is delayed, postponed until they do that. And I don't know when they're going to do that, but she then would set the trial after that. So, I mean, she could come back and set it in June or July or August.
Yes.
But who knows if it'll even be through by
election. The Trump attorneys might appeal this up the ladder.
Yeah. What happened? Okay, so there's so much unresolved there, speculation. Trump has a multiple court cases in front of him, whether they're before the election or after the election, to deal with. But the reason I asked that question too about will Biden and Trump be the nominees, obviously those two fellows are going to win the nominations by the voters of the respective parties at the polls. I mean, that's pretty clear, right? Nikki Haley might disagree with that. She'll get her chance to show that's not true when she and Trump go head to head. Another 2 weeks or so in South Carolina,
24th of February,
her home state.
Right.
Yeah. But I would say for Trump, it would be either one of those gentlemen. Trump he's going to be 78 years old in June. 78. And Biden's what, 80? Is he 82 now?
I don't think we're turning Brent Creeley loose. I don't think he's 82 yet. I think he's.
So I don't wish he's 81. He may be 82 by the time the election November gets here. Okay. Well, anyway, point is, obviously, I don't wish ill health on anybody. But at the same time, the reality is you get to be that age, 70, Trump be 78, he'll be 80, he's 81. Things change drastically and quickly, oftentimes. And you can tell with Biden, he doesn't need to be president right now from a mental standpoint, and everybody knows that. With Trump, he's made some gaffes, not to the extent that Biden has or does on a regular basis, but he's shown some signs that he's not the Donald Trump of 8 years ago, at least mentally. So it'll be so you're saying 50-50, it'll be Trump v. Biden in November on the ballot.
I think Trump will be the Republican nominee, and he will be on the ballot in November. Is whether it's Biden v. Trump, I think that part's 50-50.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm gonna also say no debates.
Okay.
I don't think there'll be any debates between those two guys, Trump or Biden.
Because both camps want it that way, or just Biden?
I don't. Do we need a debate? We can vote today.
We could vote.
To vote today.
Mm-hmm.
People have already got their minds made up, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't think I don't think Biden would want to debate, and I think Trump may act like I want to debate, but I don't think he really wants to either. So that's my take on it.
I don't think Trump understands that. Let's say it's NBC anchors and CBS anchors asking the questions. He doesn't want to put himself in that situation because they're going to make Biden look good.
Right.
And
can you make Biden look good on a debate
well,
stage?
no follow-ups. You could have no follow-up questions.
Yeah.
And you can
Now,
press.
I thought Lester Holt did a good job on the Republican debate on NBC.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
So,
he was very professional.
Yeah, he did a good job with the Republican debate there. But I don't think we'll see any debates, and I think America will say, thank the Lord. We don't want. I don't know who would want a debate. Would you think Trump or Biden wants to debate? I don't think either one of them.
I think President Trump would want to debate. He
Why?
would want to debate him. I think he.
Hey, but you don't remember now, Trump's standard for a debate is how far he's ahead. And I think Trump will say, if you ask him today, I'm so far ahead of Biden, I don't need to debate.
But he's not. He's not far ahead.
That doesn't matter. He believes he is. He says.
I think he wants to debate. I think he believes he'll clean Biden's clock, and probably would do pretty well. Now,
but Biden's not going to give him that opportunity.
I don't know. I don't think Biden will. I think what Biden will say is, look, we all know he's a criminal.
Right.
I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to debate a criminal.
I'm not going to legitimize him.
I'm not going to legitimize him. He's a liar. He's this. He's that. The standard playbook against Trump, and he'll say, no, I'm not going to. I'm the president. Agree. This guy is going to be in prison. I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen.
Right, I know.
In terms
that's
of
what
legal
Biden
issues.
will say.
That's what Biden will say.
Yeah, I don't think
this man tried to lead an insurrection, and I'm not debating this guy. He's a traitor. That's I think the Democratic Party playbook, which I think will encourage Trump to demand a debate, and he'll have his playbook against Biden. You know, obviously he's not mentally competent. He's incompetent. He knows I'll do this, I'll do that.
And they're going to say, so says the man who said Nikki Haley that was in charge of security of the Capitol on January 6th.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
about the Nancy Pelosi.
I'm going to say they're going to come back with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But so you're saying 100% Trump will be the guy when we go to vote in November. He'll be the Republican nominee.
I think
it's 50-50 at this time. You think whether Biden will be
right?
I got you.
And I think that Biden will run the table during the primary season, and then at the convention or just before the convention, he has health concerns and he can't. I'm going to ask my delegates who I've won in the primary season, caucuses or whatever, to vote. I release them to vote for so-and-so at the convention.
So do you see the possibility, because you've been a Michelle Obama,
I'm not a fan.
No, you're not a fan, but you've been putting it out there that you could see her.
Yeah, I
at
think
the
she'd
top
be
of the-
very dangerous.
Could we have a
Republican
Democrat ticket? Michelle Obama at the top and Kamala Harris at the bottom as vice president?
No, I think
so.
if you're going to get rid of Biden, it's 2-for-1 deal there. You're
Yeah, I
going to
think
get rid of Harris too.
Like you've said, there's a payoff involved
Mhm.
for her. Behind the scenes, obviously. I think if Michelle Obama's in it, she's going to be at the top of the ticket, and then you may have a Gretchen Whitmer or a guy somewhere, a governor of such and such state.
Wow.
I think she would win. I think Gretchen, what's her name?
Oh, Gretchen Whitmer?
Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. I think she would be the most formidable Democrat candidate if you take Biden out in the country, more so than Newsom.
And more
Governor
so than
Cal-
Michelle Obama?
Well, that's a close call. Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
And now Michelle Obama, Michelle Obama has zero experience. I think that would be, I don't know. I would go with the governor. If it were me, if I were calling the shots for the Democrats, I would go with Governor Lockdown from Michigan. And Democrats love those lockdowns.
They do.
So that doesn't hurt her. She locked the whole state down for a long, long time, and they reelected her.
I know.
Right.
So now I will say this: Michigan is a blue state for the most part, but there's a lot of Michigan that's red.
Yes.
A lot of geography of Michigan that's red. You get over there in the western part of Michigan, it's red for the most part. So
I just don't think that
but Detroit
Michelle-
dominates.
I don't think
Opinion.
Michelle Obama gets involved in 2024 unless she's at the top of the ticket. I don't think she would.
Oh,
want
I
to be
agree
the
with
vice
that.
President.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. She is. Listen, as I've said before, Michelle Obama. I don't think she would take it for the reasons I've mentioned before. She's enjoying the good life. Okay, she has got homes in Hawaii and on Martha's Vineyard. Isn't that Martha's Vineyard or somewhere up there? One of those ritzy East Coast towns.
Martha's Vineyard.
Isn't
Right
that
off
where they
Cape
are?
Cod.
Isn't that where the Obamas have their home up
Yes.
there or somewhere?
Yes.
Anyway, Cape Cod or somewhere up there. Anyway, look that up. Doxer. Ed. Doxy Obamas on here. I'm just kidding.
They're living by the ocean. Apparently, they're not worried about climate change erosion.
$11.7 million home on Martha's Vineyard.
Okay, there you go. I was
which is
correct.
just south of Cape Cod.
Okay. Ed knows that's his old stomping ground up there. And
That's right.
But now your
Oh no,
fam-
that's
your
not my
family-
old stomping ground.
Okay, I was
I'm
going to
allowed
say
on the island.
you talk like they do, but you're not. That
No.
wasn't your neighborhood, right?
No, I might have been
Martha's
at Dunkin'
Vineyard?
Donuts.
If
But
you
that
grew
was
up
in
Martha's Vineyard, you wouldn't be
Vineyard.
talking to us right now, I guess. But I mean, I'm just saying she is a big celebrity and flies around the world. Spends the summers on a yacht with George Clooney in the Mediterranean.
She's only 60 years old. I think the pitch to her is you have got to save America from Donald Trump, and you've got to. This is your duty, and she's only 60 years old. I think if she was offered, she'd take it. But I mean, we're going to wait. We're going to see.
Right.
She may. I wouldn't. If you had that life,
Right.
why would you get into that meat grinder?
Right now, I know this sounds crazy. Did I not tell you 20 minutes ago we were heading down the rabbit trail?
Yes, it's.
Well, guess what? There's 1,000 rabbits out there now. We have arrived at our rabbit trail destination.
Right.
Okay, so with Michelle Obama. Now, hear me out
Okay.
because of what I'm about to say sounds nutty.
I won't mock you the way you've mocked me over the Michelle Obama thing.
But yes, true. Duly noted. I deserve that. But now, if we're going to make these we live in a nutty time,
Yes.
right? Crazy things have happened and are happening in the world of politics. So, with Michelle Obama, why couldn't you do this? If surveys show, I don't know that they do, but I'm guessing that the Democrats would say, like you said, quote, save the party. Biden steps down in March or
Right.
April. It says, I endorse Michelle Obama. The whole party gets around, converges to support her. Okay,
Right.
She has no competition,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't debate or anything like that. Trump or anybody else. So she's on the ballot, and then let's say she says, okay, once you get elected, Michelle Obama, then you get sworn in January, right? Then the next day or next couple of weeks or next month, you resign. You resign, and whoever they pick to be the VP, Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom or some other high-profile name in the Democrat Party, then becomes president. Then Michelle Obama goes back to the yacht with George Clooney and her lifestyle, and she saved the day, so to speak, for the Democrats. What would be wrong with that?
Well, Tim, it is so outlandish. Nothing that outlandish could possibly happen in 2024. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Something that outlandish absolutely could happen. I mean, it's that kind of crazy. And here's the thing. In ordinary times, that would cost Democrats tremendously next time around.
I mean, doing that scenario?
Yeah,
they
would. Their credibility would be shot. It would look like a big gimmick, but I don't think those rules apply anymore.
I agree.
I think it is. We talk about a zero-sum game. As long as we win, it doesn't matter what people say, because the media will cover us and voters will forget in 2026.
Well, let's be honest, too. To me, the November election will be a national referendum on Trump. So you could say Biden is on a vent in a hospital.
Ventilator.
Yeah. Again, I don't wish ill health on
Right.
anybody, Biden or anybody. I don't wish ill health on. I'm just saying that scenario, you could say Biden is incapacitated. We don't know when he's going to be, and it would be all about whether you want Trump or not as your president by the American. So it's going to be a referendum on Trump, I think.
Yeah.
Now Biden is weak as a candidate. I think the Democrats know that. Right. That's why Michelle Obama, the governor of Michigan, the governor of California are mentioned as possible replacements. And as I mentioned before too, here he could be diagnosed. He could be medically diagnosed with dementia.
Right.
That would hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's going to be in large part. It's just going to be a referendum on Trump or not.
I think there's a flip side to the Michelle Obama at the top of the ticket. If you want a motivator to get conservatives out to vote, you put Michelle Obama at the top of the Democrat ticket.
You don't think Biden does it enough?
No, Michelle Obama would do it more.
Because of 8 years of Barack Obama?
Because there is no question about her radical political agenda.
You know who would win?
Question.
You know who would win? Okay. People, put down your stones, folks, that you're about to throw at Tim at the radio. Huh? You know who would win? Would be Nikki Haley.
Against Michelle Obama?
Or a certain, I don't know about that, but Biden.
Well, she polls better at this point. Again, anything could happen.
I'm not endorsing Nikki Haley. That's why I'm saying put down your stones.
Right.
Okay. Now, Nikki Haley, she did some good things while she was governor of South Carolina. She's she's got some things that she has stood for, but she's got some baggage too.
Right.
But she served Biden. She served Trump well in the United Nations. We were all applauding her then, weren't we? That's before she became bird brain. Huh?
Yeah.
But I'm just, all I'm saying as a political observation based on the survey numbers I've seen against Biden, Nikki Haley fares, she beats him.
Yeah.
She beats him. But she's not going to be the nominee, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We'll be back momentarily.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Dr. Travis was a man that was full of life.
Bert Harper of Exploring the Word.
He loved the Word of God, and it came across in the classroom. Dr. Travis put in my heart a desire to know God through His Word. And that's what we're trying to do on Exploring the Word.
Exploring the Word, weekday afternoons at 3 Central on American Family Radio. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is criticized for releasing several illegal aliens without bail after they attacked New York City police officers. C.B. Cotton reports from New York City with the latest.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg says the NYPD is still searching for what he describes as the worst attackers and the assault on a pair of NYPD officers. DA Bragg says he'll present evidence in the case to a grand jury tomorrow morning involving the 6 migrant men who were arrested and charged. Only one was held on cash bail. And soon, 500 migrant families with children will be given prepaid credit cards from the city. The pilot program, a replacement for non-perishable food boxes. The mayor's office says the cards can only be used for food and baby supplies at bodegas and grocery stores.
Republican Congresswoman from New York, Nicole Maliotakis, weighs in on those suspects being released.
New Yorkers want to see these individuals held accountable. And I think it goes back to the laws that Bill de Blasio passed in 2014 that prohibits NYPD from cooperating with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to have these individuals deported.
The Biden campaign is reportedly concerned that an investigation might reveal unwanted details about his handling of classified documents before he became president. Alexandria Hoff reports.
Axios is reporting that Biden aides are concerned that special counsel Hur's investigation could reveal embarrassing details about how the documents were stored. You'll remember that days after a batch was found at the Penn Biden Center here in D.C., the White House revealed that more classified documents from Biden's time as vice president were discovered in his Delaware home, some in his garage. The president previously suggested that the documents were safe because the garage was secure given that his Corvette is parked in it. But according to the Axios report, possible photos of how these documents were stored could push comparisons to former President Trump's case.
The Senate's bipartisan $118 billion border security and foreign aid bill is being criticized by House Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP members. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders joined America's Newsroom to weigh in.
I think one of the biggest things that's being left out is while we wait on Congress to act, Joe Biden has the power to actually do things to help secure our border. He's just refusing to do so and instead passing all the blame and responsibility off on Congress.
A black conservative leader says winning over inner city voters should not be the only focus of Republican office seekers in 2024. To explain, here's Chad Groening.
There is growing evidence that black support for Joe Biden is waning. Recent polls have shown that probable Republican nominee Donald Trump could receive 20% of the black vote, which could have a tremendous impact on the election, considering that he only received 8% of that vote in 2020. Deontay Johnson is founder and CEO of the Black Conservative Federation, which considers itself to be the premier hub for black conservatives throughout the country. He says black outreach is not just in the inner city.
And to be honest, the low-hanging fruit are the suburban black community, because those we can talk about issues. We can talk about school choice. We can talk about making sure that children have the best education. We can talk about black business ownership. And so it's not just going into the inner city, but it's going to be going into suburbia black.
And Johnson says the Republican Party must convince college-educated black Americans that it is the better alternative.
You're a business owner. The Republican Party has policies that are for you. Reaching out and saying, listen, you're paying way too much in property taxes. You're paying way too much in sales taxes. You're paying way too much in income taxes. Those are who we have to reach out to as well. And so you kind of have to do it all. You kind of have to reach out to every faction of the black community and say, listen, what's important to you and how can we make a difference?
I'm Chad Groening.
While President Biden won the South Carolina Democratic primary, the Republican primary later this month is a more intriguing matchup. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley says this race is far from over.
We're going to close the gap. I'm not going anywhere. Then we're going to go on to Michigan. Then we're going to go on to Super Tuesday. And we're going to continue to do this because it's the right thing to do.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
Forget about Facebook.
The last 10 days, we've been banned twice, and is unbanning a word?
They put us under the ban. Christians and conservatives
don't need you, YouTube.
Banned one day, banned again.
AFR programs are now live streaming on the AFA streaming app. Now you can get shows like today's issues straight from the source.
Put back on the next.
just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA Streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up. Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Good weekend for you?
Yeah. No, it was wet, but we went to church, had a good time there. Next week, we have a Super Bowl coming up at our church, SOUPERBOWL, right after church.
We're
going to have a soup and chili and everything.
You see what they did, Ed?
I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, things are going.
But is that like after the main service or Sunday night or what?
No, it's after the main service. And I asked, I said, okay, so the game starts at like 5:30. And we're going to go after church. We're going to sit there for 5 hours waiting for the game. But no.
Despite growing up in Northern California, you're in Oakland. Now Las Vegas Raiders fan.
Despite Oakland is in Northern California.
Yeah, I guess I meant so many are 49ers fans of the Super Bowl.
Well, there's a lot of Raider fans in the Bay Area.
That's a tough spot for you as a Raider fan because Raiders-Chiefs have been enemies forever.
Yeah.
And then Raiders and
Bay Area rivalry.
Not so much.
Not so much?
Not
so
so
you
much.
root for Frisco?
You know what? Yeah, I am. I'm rooting
You're rooting
for them.
for Taylor Swift?
I'm not rooting for Taylor Swift.
She's Kansas City.
No, that's right. That's right. I thought you were rooting for the Chiefs.
But the Chiefs, I like good football, and Patrick Mahomes is a stud. Man, that guy can play football. And so I like
both quarterbacks are Christians, right? Is Patrick Mahomes a Christian?
I don't know.
I don't know about that. He lived together with his girlfriend.
Oh.
A few years. He's a good guy. Sound like to me.
Oh, I thought he.
He may be. I don't know what it's. I don't want. Maybe so. I don't know. You know what? I retract my statements. I have no idea.
Oh.
I just read they had a baby. Here I go. I'm not going to.
Let's talk weather.
I'm not going to judge
Send
anybody.
your comments to.
I don't know his heart. I don't know his testimony. I don't know his. So I retract all that. And it may be. I know that Brock Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco,
he's an outspoken Christian.
He
and he didn't live with his girlfriend, did he, Tim?
No. All right. See, I retract that.
He looks too young to have had a girlfriend, frankly.
I have no inside knowledge.
Of course, everyone looks young to me.
So, but he was called, Brock Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes.
He was called that because he was the last man taken in the NFL draft.
270-something or
whatever year it was, from Iowa State University. And now he's, is this his second or third year in the pros?
I have to look that up. It's his second year playing.
I think this is his first year starting.
He started a couple games last year,
right.
Injury, and then this is his first.
What I'm saying is nobody expected him to make the team,
right?
Much less be the starting quarterback on.
And he played well last 2 weeks ago.
He's good,
last week.
Yeah, very good. The only Mr. Irrelevant in history to make a dent in the NFL, aside from playing a couple downs here or there or whatever, was a kicker. I can't remember who it was, but there was a kicker that was in the NFL for a while, maybe still is, I don't know, but good kicker. And that was like, oh my gosh, a kicker, Mr. Irrelevant made it into the NFL. That's amazing. This guy, Brock Purdy's being talked about as an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Talk about rags to riches.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's listen, if you like football, those are two evenly matched teams.
Yeah, it should be a superb Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl. And Taylor Swift will be there.
Yes.
Write it down. She's flying in from Japan.
Yeah, listen, let me just say something about that. I'm very concerned about her flying in from Japan. The carbon footprint that she's going to leave behind.
Yeah.
No, folks, seriously, this is why I don't believe any celebrity when they talk climate change and how the Earth is coming to humanity
Right.
is existential.
We all got to do
threat.
our part.
First of all, if climate change was an actual existential threat, there would be no concert in Japan. Taylor Swift or anyone, she would not fly in a private jet. And
Right.
she's not flying coach.
Right.
She would not fly a private jet across the country to attend her boyfriend's Super Bowl game, which also shouldn't be played.
Right.
If we have an existential threat.
Right.
The electricity, the carbon footprint of those three things, the concert in Japan,
makes the planet rise by a degree.
The Super Bowl in the U.S., and Taylor Swift flying in between.
Right.
I mean, that's why I don't believe them. They're a bunch of liars.
Right. I know. And then, I'm with you.
I also, I'm not trying to dominate. This is not, I've stepped off the soapbox here, folks. So I'm not going to go down a rabbit trail, but this is a little bit of a rabbit detour. Steve just handed me something, a T-shirt, Tim, that you can buy on Amazon Prime, and it's a black T-shirt with a rainbow flag behind the words. It says, "There are more than two genders," and you can buy them. Men and women only.
You can buy men's size or
men's
women's
size or women's size.
Wait, tell us that again for those who.
So here's the T-shirt. There are more than two genders, and you can get them in different sizes: small, medium, large, extra large, 2X large, but only to fit men or women.
A men's fit or a women's fit?
Men's fit or women's fit.
That's hilarious.
A T-shirt. There are more than two genders.
The
well
T-shirt,
played, Steve.
the T-shirt itself says there are more than two genders.
Yes.
So it's promote that idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the while ordering from a website that says you can choose from a
men's fit or women's fit.
The guy who tweeted this out on top of it said, "This never gets old."
No.
Well, also some, not all, airlines now, if you go on and buy a ticket, you have to check male, female. You have to do this forever. You have to check male or female as you buy your ticket. Your birthday, your name, everything, and you
still have to do that?
Well, yes, for some. I've forgotten now before I mentioned it which airline, but there's an airline or two that still have just male, female, and there's a couple of them that have male, female, and then
other.
It's not Virgin Atlantic, I can tell you that much.
Other. But I was thinking to myself, what's the point of even asking the question, male, female, at all, if you're going to put an other in there?
That's a really good point.
Huh? Don't even ask the question because it's silly if you can put anything you
there
want.
Are no categories.
No
there
categories.
are essentially no categories.
You ever ask yourself why they need to know?
For the manifest.
Yeah, but why? Why do they care?
Well,
a lot of women
if there's an
men and men
accident, if there's a crash and you have to identify, then you've got to,
or it's hijacked.
Yeah,
something like
you,
that.
You've got to start by identifying.
But let me ask you this:
gender.
Right.
Have you ever gotten on a plane and been sat beside a small girl? You don't.
What now?
They don't let men sit next to girls, little girls. It's they need to know what you are, so they can
is that
see
true?
you. Yeah.
I just don't.
I mean, not unless. I mean, if a parent's there, but you won't.
I don't know about that, Steve. I can go in there and buy any. When you pick out your seat on a ticket on the internet, they don't. You got open seats. You just pick the one you want.
Yeah.
How do they know whether a 11-year-old girl is going to be sitting beside you or not?
That's what they ask. Well,
anyway,
I won't push that point because I think the reason because if you've seen the news lately and what's going on, the crazy stuff that's going on flights. Oh man, I don't want to be flying these days, but I have a feeling
I try to avoid it as much as possible.
All right.
Hey, but we haven't talked about the catastrophic weather that hit California. has hit and is hitting California.
God is bringing his judgment on Central California.
That's what it seems like.
Man.
Well, all of California, right?
Yeah, well, yes. Central California is taking the brunt of it. The hurricane warning from about Santa Barbara to Ventura.
And this is first time
to
right?
Monterey to Santa Barbara.
Hurricane warning?
I think I read it's the first time they've actually had a hurricane warning, even though they've had strong winds. So listen to this. Down in Los Angeles, near the university, near UCLA, they had 9.94 inches of rain over the weekend. 10 inches of rain.
10 inches?
10 inches of rain. They had 6 1/3 inches of rain north of Culver City and 3 1/3 inches in Santa Barbara. So that's all in the Southland. Top wind gusts, 138 miles were clocked in Ward Peak near Lake Tahoe. That's up in the mountains. 120 miles in Upper Bull at Patterson Mountain. I don't know where that is. 94 miles an hour in Grapevine. Grapevine is a town that's on a mountain. There's Highway 5 goes from, if you're going on Highway 5 from the Los Angeles Interstate 5, from the Los Angeles Basin into the Central Valley. If you want to go from LA to Bakersfield, you go over a mountain pass. It's a freeway all the way, but it goes over a mountain. It's called the Grapevine.
Yeah.
And they had you're driving in 94-mile-an-hour winds. Can you imagine?
Oh, that would blow cars off road.
And trucks, could you imagine? I bet they had to ban trucks. Big 18-wheelers. You imagine what?
I'm stunned by the amount of rain.
Yeah.
Hey, let me mention something about that. And I don't have documentation on here to verify it right now, but I know I've seen the stories. These climate change scientists and activists a year ago showing me pictures of lakes and reservoirs in California and Arizona and Nevada that were drying up, never to be refilled again because of climate change.
Right.
Now those reservoirs are filled up, are full.
They are.
So all it took was Mother Nature bringing a lot of rain to that part of the country, and all of a sudden those dire predictions of a drought lasting to the end of humanity are gone. Because
they blamed climate change for the drought, and now they are also blaming climate change,
right?
And parentheses El Nino for the rain. So this is a pretty cool theory to have if you can blame wet or dry.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
Yes.
If you've ever lived in California, you'll know this. The reservoirs and drought is like a cyclical thing. Every 10 years, you're in the worst drought ever, and then 5 years later, you're flooded out. It just is the way of the West. Always happens.
But they were. I pay attention to professional golf.
Yeah.
Like you do NASCAR, Steve.
Yes.
And Ed does hockey. Although, well, anyway, so the professional golf tournament for the week was in Pebble Beach.
Yeah. Some guy shot a 60.
Yeah, it was a course record. But they had the tournament Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to have the last round to decide the champion yesterday, but they either postponed or canceled it because, listen to this, in Monterey or Pebble Beach, on the Monterey Peninsula, right?
By Carmel, yeah.
They were going to have like 30 to 50 mile an hour winds and torrential downpour because I got to tell you, there's a part of me that wanted to see that.
Yeah. I'm all right.
I just wanted to see, I wanted to see pros play goofy golf. That's what I wanted to see because can you imagine? I don't even think your ball would stay on the tee.
No, right? You'd have to have somebody come up and hold it like a professional kicker.
That's what right, but who's going to do that?
I know, right?
with a golf driver coming at you at 90 miles an hour.
Was that a song from Caddyshack?
Yes,
yeah,
that was Caddyshack,
all right.
Yeah.
But I just thought, or if you were to hit a drive, either it's going to go 500 yards or it's going to go backwards.
Yes.
Huh?
It's going to go 500 yards.
Yeah,
and backwards.
Right. It was. Anyway, they didn't play it because the conditions were.
They moved a
too
NASCAR
bad.
race up a day. They were going to race in the Coliseum. They had their first. It was a exhibition race in the Los Angeles Coliseum. They put
on Saturday or what?
They had it was a weekend thing. They had qualifying on Saturday, and they were going to do the race on Sunday, but they had to move the race back because they wouldn't have been able to race.
Well,
can you imagine 30 cars going around the LA Coliseum in the middle?
Oh, no.
That?
It was great.
You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Steve, thank you for listening to AFR. One thing about that on a serious note, it was called the Pineapple Express, I think.
Yeah.
And I read about this. I wondered, why is that weather pattern called the Pineapple Express? It's because this weather starts in like Hawaii area of the South Pacific where they grow pineapples.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming. And if you look at it, it's just like a storm probably 1,000 miles long that slammed into California, the worst parts being in the central part. But this was the first time in history that a hurricane warning had been
right
issued for California.
Yeah, but that's kind of interesting because I'm thinking, didn't we have a hurricane hit Southern California about 3 months ago? You remember that? Came off what is that, Cabo, and what is that, the peninsula?
It seems like
Baja?
there was a major storm.
Baja California.
Maybe.
Oh, that hit Mexico, I think.
Yeah, Baja California is Mexico. It's not California, but
okay, I know it hit it. Yes, it may have hit Mexico, but it also hit San Diego. But it may have diminished and not being a hurricane by the time it hit. That may have been
I think that's what happened.
But I couldn't believe it was the first time in history that California had been given a hurricane warning.
Well, climate change, Tim.
Yeah, I know, right?
Climate change.
What are you looking up there, Steve?
I'm just seeing how many times hurricane warnings have been issued in California.
What are you getting there?
Just a bunch of news stories about
about today.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have the facts right.
All right. What's your next story?
Well, you guys were speaking about global warming, right?
We're very concerned about it, Steve.
Yes.
We don't preach about it.
Well,
you're not going to mock us.
Scientists now have a solution, they think.
Okay.
And it is to put a giant parasol like you have at the beach between the Earth and the sun.
Put a what now? Where?
Basically a giant umbrella. They situate out in space. They situate it so that it covers about 2% of the sun's radiation, and that should bring the temperature down by about 1.5 degrees Celsius, which would make everybody happy. No more global warming.
It's not going to work.
They've tried different things. They've been talking about this for a while. They thought about scattering dust out there, just enough dust to make it hazy out. I mean, not in our atmosphere, but out in space. But this one, they're talking about you know how when you see satellites launched and they get into space and then they launch them in space and then they furl out their antennas and their all that kind of stuff. Well, this would basically be that, but huge. To block the necessary amount of solar radiation, the shade would have to be about 1 million square miles, roughly the size of Argentina. It would weigh 2.5 million tons, too heavy to launch, so the project would have to involve a series of smaller shades. They wanted to do a prototype. Okay, so this would be a prototype of about 100 square feet, just a mini. To do the prototype is going to cost them between $10 and $20 million.
That's for 100 feet?
For 100 feet. This is not looking good.
This is first of all, set aside the cost, the time, all those kinds of things that it would take to do this huge project. All right. I will admit that I'd rather them do something like that. I'm opposed to it, but I'd rather them do that than the insane idea of scattering dust.
Yeah.
Because there's no reversing that.
Right.
If they unfurl this huge parasol, as you called it, and it starts to create, the equivalent of nuclear winter.
Yeah.
Okay. Turning certain areas into, a little mini ice age. You can at least fold it back in.
Right.
But you throw a bunch of dust up there, that stuff is there permanently. Listen, this is, by the time they got this done and built out there, we probably already will have invented everything battery powered. They'll already have everything they wanted. and then they have this thing
all
finished.
for a hoax.
I'm just thinking, in response to this, how much pledge are you going to need? You know, to
Pledge.
To dust? Did they get the dust?
Yeah,
to collect
talking
the
about, huh?
Yeah, that'd be a
Pledge
lot.
company be like these.
Well, that's why they have to do the huge umbrella out there, because it's actually cloth, and they use the cloth to get the dust.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Probably need to move on to the next story. I would say.
Did you guys? Let's do this. Did you guys watch Saturday Night Live? You guys ever watch?
Don't watch
when I was in
Steve.
high school.
Now I am aware of some of the skits on there, because if you see the news on Sunday or Monday, they'll show you. They'll highlight a clip or two, but.
Well, strangely enough, you know who got a big, huge ovation on Saturday Night Live this 2 days ago? Nikki Haley, Republican.
In person?
Yes, because she's challenging Trump. So this was the cold open. The cold open is when you come on and it's just like, it looks like a CBS News report. This like, and then they go at the end, they go live from New York and Saturday Night, and they go into the show. Well, this is what it sounded like. Let's listen to cut 11.
Okay, our next question comes from someone who describes herself as a concerned South Carolina voter.
Yes, hello. My question is, why won't you debate Nikki Haley?
It's her, the woman who was in charge of security on January 6th. It's Nancy Pelosi.
For the 100th time, that is not Nancy Pelosi. It is Nikki Haley.
Are you doing okay, Donald? You might need a mental competency test.
You know what I did? I took the test and I aced it, okay? Perfect score. They said I'm 100% mental. And, I'm competent because I'm a man. That's why a woman should never run our economy. Women are terrible with money. In fact, a woman I know recently asked me for $83.3 million.
Well, just get used to it, folks. This is,
but they got
Stephen Colbert, all of them.
They got Nikki Haley to do this.
Oh yeah. Well, she's
trying to catch up.
She's
with
trying
Trump.
to catch up.
I know she is.
Yeah.
But the fact that they would cheer a Republican like that, anything to beat Trump.
What do you think? I think they asked the audience to be nice and to cheer.
Sarah Palin was on there. Donald Trump was on there. Years back.
Before
he made a cameo.
Yeah.
Or is that what you call it?
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was before he ran for president or when he was running for president. Then Alec Baldwin
Tina
took
Fey
over.
and Sarah Palin were indistinguishable. They looked
In fact,
so
to this
much alike.
day, people think Sarah Palin actually said, "I can see Russia from my porch." Well, it was Tina Fey who said it, and everyone still thinks to this day. Not everyone, but a lot of people still think it was Sarah Palin who said that.
I'll tell you who got abused by Saturday Night Live when we were growing up more than anybody was Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford.
I think that's when Saturday Night Live debuted with
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase doing Gerald Ford. That was every
because
week.
Gerald Ford tripped going up the stairs once
Right.
of Air Force One.
Yeah.
And every time they had the Gerald Ford character on, Chevy Chase, he would stumble and fall.
I did
He
watch
wasn't
those.
used.
I watched the original stuff. Chevy Chase and Gilda Radner.
Oh, no,
and
I
Tom
in high
Belushi
school.
Rosanna Dana.
Yeah, that was.
When I was
Never mind.
Yes.
Gilda Radner, yeah.
When I was in high school, that's all we talked about on Monday.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Saturday Night Live skits were.
We'd go.
Bill Murray.
We'd do that, and every as many weeknights as we could. Me and Rich and Ed would get together. We'd watch Johnny Carson.
Not this Ed.
Do you know?
Your own,
You know how many of those actors from the original Saturday Night Live went on to become big stars?
Oh yeah.
And
no Coke, Pepsi. No Coke, Pepsi.
Those that are still with us.
With that Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Yep.
All right.
Garrett.
Eddie Murphy. Was he one of the original?
Not the
ones?
original.
Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin.
Yeah. Rosanna Dana. Never mind. She gives this whole spiel about something.
Never mind.
And then they'd say, well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's a different name.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for more of today's issues.
spiritual heritage to